All right, Rex. One of the other biggest storylines of the week was Jordan Spieth and our friend Doug Ferguson of the Associated Press reporting that Jordan Spieth is targeting the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am at the end of January for his return to competition. Jordan Spieth has not played since the first playoff event in Memphis, had surgery to fix a wrist issue that he thinks actually first cropped up back in 2018. What does this path back signify to you, Rex?
I like many of the things that he said in that story to the AP. Probably first and foremost is he referred to this as a reset. Just talking about it's been since 2018, as you pointed out, and I think we've probably I'm talking about the golf press have known that he's been dealing with this for a little while. I didn't know it had been that long, and I think we talked a lot about this year, last year at the Players Championship when he actually revealed that he doesn't know when the tendon was going to slip out of the sheath. Essentially, is what happens, and if it happens in the middle of a round of golf, you really can't recover. I mean, it just hurts. You can't make a full swing of it. You're afraid to hit the ground. All of the things you need to do when you play golf. So that was refreshing the way he sort of talked about it. The fact that he's been pain free now for a couple of weeks and he's starting to ramp back up a little bit. That's all refreshing. My main concern here, and you are probably happier than anyone else in golf media that he's coming back because you're the biggest fanboy when it comes to Jordan Spieth. My bigger concern is he didn't finish inside the top 25 since April on the PGA Tour last year. He has struggled the last few years on tour, and it's because specifically of that injury. And I always go back to the conversations, and you and I have done this a lot with our colleague, Aaron Oberholzer, him talking about how a very similar wrist injury essentially ended his career. And he tried for years to play through it. He tried for years to have different surgery. He tried for years to do all kinds of therapy on it, and it just never worked. He was never able to recover, and it really cut short what which was a promising career. When it comes to Jordan, he's a generational player. I mean, if you go back what he's accomplished over the course of his career, the major championships that he won, what he did in 2015 when he was chasing down the single season Grand Slam. I mean, that's unheard of in the modern era. To be such a special talent and to be such a pivotal star in the game, he still finished fifth in the PIP this year, and he didn't compete hardly anywhere. So he's still a star. The name still carries the weight, but there is a caveat I would put on. There's a level of concern, a cautionary tale, let's call it, when you look at other players who have gone through similar injuries, how it's impacted their careers, and it's worrying to be quite frank.
I certainly understand where you're coming from. I would take a more optimistic view in saying that if this issue has bothered Jordan Spieth, as he said, since 2018, that's exactly what he told me 2 years ago, and that the issue actually stemmed. He broke a small bone in his wrist and hand, most likely during weightlifting. That's really interesting timing when you look back at sort of the career arc of Jordan Spieth. 2017 was Jordan Spieth's best ball striking year. He won his third major that year. He was number two in the world behind Dustin Johnson. Since then, since 2018, he has just 2 wins in 7 years. He's missed the tour championship like 4 of his last 7 years. Obviously, he went through the major dip in form, sort of around the 2020 era, where he wasn't even sure that he'd be able to recover his game and his form. He hasn't been better than 10th in the world since then. I really do hope, Brex, that this is like a huge reset for him. He's entering now his 13th season. He's still just 31 years old. He just took 12 weeks off for this injury, for this surgery. That was the longest break he's ever gone without hitting competitive shots. I like the fact, too, that he didn't rush the return from this. I hear what you're saying about this could be a potentially cautionary tale. Look at Aaron Oberholzer. Like he thought about playing the Hero World Challenge, didn't do it. He actually thought about playing the Sony Open, didn't do it. He thought about playing the American Express, didn't do it. He wants to make sure that he can go through a stretch. And now, as he told Doug Ferguson, like he's planning to play Pebble, he's going to play Phoenix, he's going to play Riv as well, 3 in a row. I think it's like 18 total rounds, at least he figures, including practice rounds, practice, and tournament competition. Then he can sort of reevaluate where he is. But to this point, to not have any pain, to be hitting shots in practice that maybe he anticipated having a little bit discomfort with either swing positions or, sort of impact positions, I think is all very positive. Because keep in mind, Jordan Spieth had the best driving year of his career in 2024, where he tailed off and he had a good start to the year. He had a close finish at Kapalua, was sort of his iron play, his approach play, and his wedge play. Typically, those are the hallmarks of Jordan Spieth's career. It's understandable that the wrist really played a huge role in that. And I think when you look back again at the career arc of what Jordan Spieth has accomplished, it's reasonable to to sort of view his last 6 or 7 years differently when you keep in mind the ailment that he's been dealing with.
Well, and I've said this about Tiger numerous times, and I think it would be apropos here, where a player can lose his health and his confidence and a lot of different things. You don't lose the talent. And when it comes to Jordan Spieth, your point is well taken that there is still a monsoon of talent there. It's just a matter of can he get out of his own way physically and come back and do those things that you pointed out. Again, you look at what he did in 15, 16, 17. There weren't many players in the world that could beat him at that point in time. I would also make the other argument that golf needs a Jordan Spieth now, probably. Well, the PGA Tour needs a Jordan Spieth right now as much as badly, probably more so than they ever have in the history of the PGA Tour. So all of those things, I understand why you're being optimistic. I just go back to the idea that there's two kinds of injuries when you talk to trainers on the PGA Tour. There's a traumatic injury and there's a chronic injury. And then traumatic injuries can be bad. And I'll go to Scotty Scheffler because he's the easiest out here right now. Whatever it is he did to his hand over Christmas, and he apparently had to have some sort of surgery. I still don't have any concern, even after we withdrew from the American Express next week, because that's something that can heal, that it's not going to keep cropping up over time. It shouldn't keep cropping up over time. It's the chronic injuries that derail careers. And this, going back to 2018, is by definition a chronic injury.
Yes. However, he never went through a surgical route to repair it. It was always sort of maintenance. It was rest. It was rehab. It was make compensations in his swing or his game or his practice time to sort of get around that. I like the fact that he shut it down for 12 weeks and now he can sort of go forward in the second act of his career and see exactly what he has. And you're exactly right. Like 30,000 foot view on this. The PGA Tour desperately needs Jordan Spieth. It needs some heroes. It needs a player who is universally liked and beloved on the PGA Tour. The fact that he was fifth in the PIP, to me, without really being competitive, tells me that there's like a
Since
dearth
April.
of superstars on the PGA Tour. His reemergence as a top player would be absolutely huge